Hey, HannahMouse1 here, and today I'll be showing you how I made this miniature Japanese style building. I think it's really cute, so let's get started. I start by cutting out some pieces which will act as the frame of the house out of old cereal boxes. I make 2 rectangles and a triangle. These will form the front of the building. I then section off a portion of each of the rectangles and I cut these away to make to allow me to make some depth in the image, but in the front of the building it adds visual interest. I then attach it to each of these pieces to a thin section of cardboard, which will act as the divider between the top and bottom floor, and will also be the width that the recessed areas of the front of the building will be recessed. I attach them using small squares of paper, which I fold round to act as like a hinge. It creates quite a strong bond, especially once you've done it on both sides. So yeah, I then create the interior, or the walls that go backwards into the balcony section with more cardboard, and I make a back wall, and I add the back wall using the same paper technique. I add a wall here, the sides and floor here, and I add the sides of the building as so. I add a triangular wedge-shaped piece there to allow me to balance an overhang of the that covers the front of the building. I don't know what it's called. I then add some thickness to the walls here, because obviously walls are not as thin as cardboard, so it makes it look a bit more realistic. I add back walls, I extend the building backwards, and I add a floor and back wall. And I then add a covering to this balcony and a second overhang. I add the pieces for the roof, which are 2 triangles and a rectangle on each side. I then cover the entire thing in toilet paper, which I pulled the sheets of the toilet paper apart into the 2 separate thinner pieces. I then glue this all over the model, which makes it feel more solid and consistent. I then take a piece of paper the same width as the balcony, and then I fold it into these curved pieces as so, which allows me to make a piece that acts like the tiling on top of which I then stick into place as so. And this is the slates on the tiled roof. I do the same for the bottom set of tiling. I then start gluing on pieces to act as wood framing as the texture the roof as so. And I do the same technique on the flat front portions of the building to make it look like it's all made out of wood slats and stuff, and it's all being supported up. And I think it's a cool effect, and I think it looks really effective. These are just thin pieces of cardboard. Pretty simple. I use thicker pieces to frame this area, as though there's proper wooden supports in the corners of each piece. And then I start working on the roof. I do this by layering thin rectangles of cardboard to make it look like the slates are on top of each other and stacking up. I find it hard to attach them when it's on the roof, so I end up removing it and working on it flat, and then I attach it back to the roof later. This proves to be much more effective. And then I coat these in toilet paper also, and attach these to the roof. I use more pieces of cardboard to imitate the wooden beams going all the way around the structure. And I coat these in toilet paper also to help it feel more unified with the rest of the building. Then I go on to painting. I mix a nice brown colour by mixing orange and blue. Any 2 complementary colours will work though, so red and green or purple and yellow will also work. I start painting the wooden sections of the building. This will be the base colour that I use. So I'll go over all the sections of wooden, just like the background wood colour. I realised using that kids magazine brush probably wasn't very effective, so I switched to a proper paintbrush. I go across all up here, like in the roof area, and I do the sides of the building in the same way. And I probably could have used a bigger paintbrush. For the back of the building, I didn't actually build up the beams. So I just drew, I tried to keep the line as straight as possible where the edge of the beams would be, and then I painted the rest of the back wall in the same manner. I use a slightly more reddish colour for the beams themselves, just by adding a bit of red to the brown colour I was already using. I wanted all the colours to be very muted though, so it's a very muted red. I use these for all the beams and areas of wood that are used for framing, as so. So all the areas around the wooden background I do in this red colour. And I think it adds a bit of variation, and it helps guide your eyes. Framing things in buildings helps just guide your eyes to what the actual structure is. So yeah. Again, I have to be careful to try and keep this in the lines as much as possible on the back because I didn't actually build up the beams. Probably should have done, but I also do the back of the interior of all these little alcove sections in the same red colour. It just helps differentiate these background areas from the rest of it. I use a muted blue colour for the roof of the building. I just made this by taking blue and mixing a very small amount of orange into it. Because if you mix small amounts of complementary colours with the base colour, it will mute the colour. So, yeah. And I do the same blue on the overhang tiled sections. And this was a very fiddly paint job because there's a lot of tiny cracks and crannies and difficult places to get into. I then switched to some polymer clay to make a pot plant for the doorway. I spent some time just massaging it to make it workable. This process can take quite a while, but it's kind of switched off. I used that brown colour to make the pot for the pot plant. I then take some green and mould it into small leaves. It just helps to have something natural in your buildings because it's something that the human eye expects to see, having a plant or something. It does help add some visual interest and it makes the whole thing seem a bit more coherent. So I build that up as so, and I build multiple small leaves to match up in this manner, and it's quite a fiddly, time-consuming process, but I find it quite enjoyable. I always find polymer clay enjoyable. So yeah, I continue to build this up as so. And then I take a small rectangle of paper. I'm sorry if you can hear any background noise. But I take a small rectangle of paper. This will act as a door for the building. I colour it in with felt tip pens because that's how classy I am. Yeah. These felt tips can come across as very streaky, so I have to be careful to keep them in the same direction. I tried adding these little windows by taking grey, by colouring in some pieces grey. I wasn't a huge fan of this because it looked too bold. I wanted this to be very subtle, so I took some brown where I did the streaks in the opposite direction, so it's visibly different, but it also looks subtle. I then glue this in place, as so, and I add in the pot plant, which is now baked. Always follow the baking instructions on your packet of clay. And here we are, the finished product. I think it is super cute and super cool, and I think it looks really effective. I was really happy with how this came out, so thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram at Hannah Mouse Crafts, and I'll see you next week. Bye!